Hey everyone, Chris Mack presents today with Action Comics 592. Now we've gone over issue 593 already, so I'll make sure to leave what's that thing called, a card somewhere up at the top so you guys can check that out as well. Finally got the first half of it, and this comic just continues. This particular arc for me is just balls to the wall, crazy with what happens to Big Barda. I can't remember the print date of this off the top of my head, but I know it was in 1987. So Barda and Scott Free are residents here in New York now. And it says it was a simple enough mistake. The kind of mistake almost anyone could have made. A right-hand turn instead of a left, easily noticed, easily rectified. Not at all the sort of thing you'd expect to lead you into a walk into the darkness. So it's kind of an interesting way that that you could see Barda entering the slums of Manhattan. And she's like, what manner of place is this? Now, before we can talk more about it, let's talk about who made this book. Story and pencils and figure inks, John Byrne. Background inks, Keith Williams. Lettering, John Costanza. Coloring, Tim Zuico, I believe is how I pronounce that. Editing was Michael Carlin and Andrew Helfner? Sure. And of course, Superman was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Big Barda, part of the Fourth World, created by Jack the King Kirby. So Barda sees how this pimp is treating his lady of the night, I guess you would want to call it. And she's just thinking, I love the juxtaposition because she's thinking, I can hardly believe such squalor exists in the very heart of Metropolis. This is a place much better suited to the shadows near the fire pits of my home planet. Now, this pimp here, I keep wanting to say, what was the name in Starsky and Hutch? Huggy Bear. But he wants to kind of recruit Barda, and she just sends him for a loop. And again, just the pencil, the line work, the colors. This is everything that I remember how comics would be. They're very well detailed for the most part. The stories, even though, as I said, this one's off the wall, really weird in terms of what happens to Barda here in a minute. But still, there's action. There's moments of reflection. And we're introduced to this guy named Sleaze and the guy that stole Barda's purse. Yeah, needless to say that he met an ill fate. You guys will have to pick up the book and read what happened. But this guy, Sleaze, he gets a hold of her purse and finds that she has, what is it called? What's it called? I can't remember what this thing's called. But anyway, El Megarod, there it is. He says he stole this from a native of Apocalypse. Perhaps someone who is still close by. As close as the hour of my vengeance. So it's interesting how John Byrne is able to bring Barda into Metropolis. I know I was calling it Manhattan, but c'est la vie. She chases the guy that stole her purse, and she's attacked by the Mega Rod. And I love how she's able to just press her bands and don her Apocalypse armor instantly. But sadly, she doesn't realize who has the Mega Rod, and it takes her down. And just when we were wondering what happened to Barda, we then take a houses elsewhere 2 days later. Clark is visiting this sort of like this resident. Think of this place kind of like how what Leslie Tompkin does in Gotham. Sort of takes people in from the slum part of Metropolis and tries to help them. But because the city doesn't really fund it all that much, there's nothing much that they could really do. But yet a lot of the elderly that are living in squalor are living longer than expected, and I don't want to give away why. Read the book because it's worth it, even though it's weird, which prompts Superman into the story. So it's a great way to show how Clark Kent, Kal-El, cares about his native home planet now, or his adopted home planet, I guess you could say. And he wants to find out what's causing all this in the slums. However, we cut back to Barda, now the slave of Sleaze. And he gives a quick backstory of how he was on Apocalypse, how he was chosen by Darkseid And when Darkseid kind of came to power, he was cast aside. Now, as this issue ends, Barda is able to free herself of Sleaze's control, but she can't tell friend from foe. She doesn't know if she can trust the Man of Steel, and puts them at odds. And it's such a great read all around. I love, as I said, the artwork sharp. Love the little homage as a lot of the older comic artists would give that Kirby crackle look to the art style. And it leaves you wanting more, wondering what Sleaze is going to do with two of the most powerful beings on the planet. As I said, this is one of those controversial books that came out during the time, but you go back, and I miss comics like this where things were a little off the wall, experimental, but it was still fun to read and push some boundaries where you're just kind of like, whoa. But it was all done in a somewhat tasteful way, as they were able to bring some random guy from Metropolis that looks like this and make him a worthy adversary against Barda, which, as we've already gone over, brings in scot-free into the next issue along with Darkseid. So y'all, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is you like to get your comics and action figures. And if you've enjoyed this review, I really would appreciate it. Take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little fourth world bell next to subscribe, that way we continue to upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel. We love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.